Welcome. This is Janisar Ahmed with a daily roundup of news from the US and around the world. First, the headlines. Record cold, heavy snow grips much of the US with more on the way. Powerball, Mega Millions, jackpot soar past 300 million US dollars. De Blasio to be sworn in alongside potential mayoral successors Letitia James and Scott Stringer. 24-hour strike is expected to cause disruption on some of the UK's main railway lines on New York's Eve. After fire, 314 demolitions in Mumbai. Look out for notices for 3 bar owners. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina yesterday asked the authorities concerned to give special attention to the academic activities at their educational institutions. And now the details. Record cold, heavy snow grips much of the US with more on the way. Across the United States, temperatures records are falling faster this week. Snowflakes in Erie, Pennsylvania, and it's only going to get worse. From Portland, Maine to Danville, Virginia, temperatures fell overnight Friday to lows not seen in decades. It was 8 degrees Fahrenheit in Worcester, Massachusetts, breaking a record that had not stood since 1903. If the present forecast holds true, this will be the third coldest New Year's Eve ball drop in New York Times Square since the event started in 1907, according to the National Weather Service. The expected low will be 8 degrees with a wind chill between -10 and 0, forecasters say. In Minnesota, it felt like it was -44 degrees Saturday morning. About 70 million people, mainly in the northeast and northern plains, were under a wind chill alert Saturday morning. That's up from an already hopping 30 million a day earlier. It felt like it was -38 in Minneapolis, -12 in Chicago, and -6 in Boston. But it's not just the north that's grappling with the cold. Temperatures will also be unusually low as far south as Texas and Georgia. Powerball, Mega Millions, jackpots soar past 300 million. If you didn't score the big Powerball Mega Millions jackpot this week to top of the year, you aren't alone. And you still have one more chance in 2017. Without a winner, both lottery games have fattened with top prizes well above 300 million. Powerball, with a Saturday night drawing, says its jackpot has jumped to 384 million, with Mega Millions waves in at around 343 million. Mega Millions goes first with a drawing on Tuesday evening, while Powerball follows on Wednesday if there is no winner Saturday night. Both are played in 44 states plus Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Powerball is also played in Puerto Rico. The biggest Powerball jackpot ever was a hopping 1.6 billion that was split 3 ways in 2016. The highest all-time Mega Millions jackpot was 656 million, claimed by one person in 2012. There have been 8 Mega Millions jackpots worth at least 336 million. The odds of hitting the Powerball jackpot are 1 in 292.2 million. De Blasio to be sworn in alongside potential mayoral successors Letitia James and Scott Stringer. Mayor de Blasio will be sworn in by Senator Bernie Sanders on Monday, kicking off his second and final term leading City Hall. But he won't be the only one with his hand on the Bible. The ceremony will also see the swearing in of Comptroller Scott Stringer and Public Advocate Letitia James. And while his second term is just beginning, many of pundits are already thinking about the next race for the mayor, in which Stringer and James are expected to be major contenders for the Democratic nomination. Still, both are likely to offer relatively short speeches in an affair that will be lower key than it was 4 years ago due to both its repeated nature and the frigid temperatures forecast for the event held outside City Hall. Stringer said he'll focus in his second term on keeping the city affordable for its residents, a theme also likely to dominate his speech. We've seen more amazing successes, but we also know that we have an affordability crisis. It's becoming harder for everyday families to make it, and we have to be laser focused on creating a more affordable city for working people, Stringer said in a statement. I look forward to our second term and continuing the fight for a fairer and more equitable New York. The swearing in will be a family affair done by his stepfather, Carlos Silvas. Silvas was the first Puerto Rican to serve as New York City clerk and was also a deputy borough president in the Bronx. Stringer will also be joined by his mom, who served as a city council member in the 1970s, and his wife, Elise Buxbaum. As for the public advocate, 4 years ago she was thrown in by an 11-year-old homeless girl named Sunny, who was the subject of a New York Times story on shelter conditions. The population of homeless New Yorkers sleeping in shelters continue to grow under de Blasio's administration. This year, James' office said the person holding the Bible will be Reverend Anthony Trufant, who leads Emmanuel Baptist Church, the church on Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn that James attends. It is a great honor to take the oath of office for a second term. I look forward to continue working to serve New Yorkers for the next 4 years as public advocate, James said. The program will begin at noon. New Year's travel chaos looms as rail strikes hit. 24-hour strike is expected to cause disruptions on some of the UK's main railway lines on New Year's Eve. A walkout by rail, maritime and transport members will see delays and cancellations on South Western Railway and cross-country networks. The union says it is striking over concerns about rosters, Sunday working and guards on train. The government has accused the union of causing misery for passengers. Long-running disputes, Sunday's strike will disrupt services to and from London Waterloo, the country's busiest station. Managing Director of South Western, Andy Mellors, said, "We will do everything we can to keep our passengers moving during the unnecessary strike, but passengers are warned to check before the traveling and will be prepared for queues if traveling back from the New Year's Eve." Cross County is planning to run a reduced service between Newcastle and Edinburgh. There will be service between Glasgow and Aberdeen. All other cross-country lines are expected to be affected. Rail Minister Paul Maynard said, "It is disgraceful that the RMT is seeking to cause misery to paying customers trying to get home to family and friends for the new year. Rail companies are working hard to keep passengers moving and plan to run the majority of services, but we call on the RMT to show some decency and call off these strikes. Over the Christmas period, snow and ice caused severe disruption to road, rail, and air travel. However, in good news for some travelers, wintry conditions are set to ease into drier and milder weather. This should improve conditions for drivers as they head to celebrations around the country." After fire, 314 demolitions in Mumbai, lookout notices for 3 bar owners. In a knee-jerk reaction to the blaze at 2 illegal resto bars in the Kamala Mills compound that killed 14 people, the BMC on Saturday undertook a massive demolition drive and pulled down illegal extensions of 314 restaurant bars, pubs, and hookah parlors and sealed 7 restaurants for gross violations. In an action that was simultaneously carried out in various suburbs, illegal encroachments of popular restaurants, pubs were demolished. The action, which resulted in the seizure of 417 gas cylinders, will continue next week as well, said civic officials. Police have issued lookout notices against 3 partners of the above, the resto bars where all deaths took place, and registered a fresh case for violating town planning norms. Around a dozen restaurant bars that faced action were in the Kamala Mills compounds itself. These mills shut down over 3 decades back and have now transformed into commercial hubs and residential buildings. But as Friday's fire exposed, many eateries have illegal extensions or practices. On Friday, the fire started at an illegal rooftop above resto bar at Kamala Mills compound, killing 14 people. The restaurant had encroached the open terraces areas and covered it with tarpaulin and bamboos for use as a resto bar. It proved to be a deadly fire trap for the 14 victims who suffocated to death in the fire. Civic chief immediately formed local chief level teams to identify and act against such violations, more so because of the December 31st year-end gathering scheduled at hip joints. The officials were asked to inspect all restaurants and ensure they were fire compliant and act against those who don't have fire escape routes or staircases that had encroached in compulsory open areas. The senior official said the BMC is yet to conclude the cause of the fire and are exploring 3 angles: and fire, liquor show, use of hookah or short circuit. The drive began on Saturday morning and a total of 624 establishments located in malls, hotels or mill compounds were inspected. The BMC found 314 violated rules and took actions against them. Many of these establishments had decorated their illegally encroached terraces premises to celebrate the New Year Eve but dropped their plans after the BMC action. Some of the establishments had committed gross violations and converted their terraces into pubs or resto bars. As per the rules, the BMC has to issue a notice to violators before initiating any action against illegal encroachments, but the Saturday drive was a sudden due to the fire tragedy. Senior BMC official justified the action after stating that most of these establishments had faced action in the past for similar violations. We don't need to serve them the notice before initiating the action for the second time, he said. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina yesterday asked the authorities concerned to give special attention to the academic activities at the educational institutions. Our students are talented. We are providing them with all kinds of facilities. Why can't they pass the exams? I think special attention will have to be given to all the institutions whether they are running the academic activities properly, she said. The Premier made the remarks while inaugurating the distribution of free textbooks and receiving the results of this year's primary education competition. She opened the free textbook distribution program by handing over books to primary and secondary level students. Hasina directed the authorities concerned to formulate curricula for the students keeping pace with the modern world. PM said her government has been doing everything necessary for creating an educated generation to take the country towards the desired goal. Terming education an asset, Hasina advised the students to develop themselves as well as educated citizens. We had increased the literacy rate to 65.5% from 45% in 5 years, but the rate dipped again. We got an award from UNESCO for enhancing the literacy rate. After forming the government following the 2008 election, we took initiatives again, so the literacy rate now stands at 72% according to official statistics. Actually, the rate is even higher, she said. Hasina said the dropout rate has declined and students were becoming alternatives to their studies due to the government steps. Chairman of 8 General Madrasa and Technical Education Boards handed over the JSC and JDC exam results of their respective boards to the Premier. And how to survive the cold in Times Square this New Year's Eve. It's going to be a frigid fest in the Times Square this year. Temperatures forecast for 11 degrees at midnight in the heart of New York New Year's Eve celebrations. Partygoers may have to weather the second chilliest ball drop on record. Get you ready for staying warm for the New Year's bash. The newspaper got a few tips from the party's planners, emergency management officials, and extreme weather legend Al Roker of NBC's Today Show. Here, your guide to staying warm in Times Square this year, New Year's Eve. What should you wear? Layers, layers, and layers. Folks should start with a base layer of long underwear of merino wool and then use a number of lighter layers, finishing with a good warm coat, Roker said. For your hands, Roker suggests insulated mittens, not gloves. Your fingers will stay warmer when they are not separated by fabric. And warm insulating socks with a great boot like a sorrel are a must. If you feel you get cold, all is lost. Roker added, try not to have any skin exposed to the cold air, said Herman Schaffer, Assistant Commissioner for Community Outreach at NYC Emergency Management. Consider synthetics too, like Gore-Tex or another substance, as well as wind and water resistance clothing. The Times Square Alliance, which coordinates the New Year's Eve bash, recommends what should you bring. Backpacks and other large bags won't get through security according to the Times Square Alliance, so make sure you're packed smart. A portable phone charger can't hurt either. Schaffer also recommends bringing extra hand and foot warmers. If you don't use them, someone else will appreciate them. Thank you very much for watching. Watch us at millenniumtv.org and do drop us a line at info@millenniumtv.net. This is Janisar Ahmed signing off from Millennium TV USA. We are bridging communities worldwide.